safe streets, vibrant neighborhoods, successful business and commerce. These are things that make a healthy community. We are a diverse community, rural, suburban, urban, a multitude of languages and ethnicities, ages and experiences. We are a collaborative community. Public-private partnerships make us a model community that others want to follow. It is what makes us unique. It is what makes us strong. The employees of Kent County reflect our diversity and seek to serve our communities.
People in this county, in this area, we wrap our arms around each other. We come together to collaborate, to solve problems. We're all working for the good of the whole. And I think that's wonderful. And you can see it. You can see it as you drive around Kent County.
Our impact starts the day a baby is born and a birth certificate is issued, to protecting children from deadly diseases through vaccination, to the public safety and justice provided by law enforcement and the courts, to offering veterans services and caring for the elderly. Every day we work to keep our communities robust.
I think if you are somebody who's interested in serving your community, in building a strong knowledge base and a good group of people to work with, then the county is one of your best employment opportunities out there. It's been completely rewarding in every way I could possibly explain for 26 years, and I feel like I grow every single day still today.
Leading these dedicated employees, our 19-member Board of Commissioners and our County Administrator Controller, along with our elected officials and appointed department directors, placing emphasis on civic involvement, quality housing, vibrant neighborhoods, and strong, solid infrastructure to allow businesses to thrive. Professional, dedicated, collaborative, and innovative.
Behind the scenes, collaboration between foundations, charitable organizations, nonprofits, for-profit businesses, public sector demonstrated through the county, the city of Grand Rapids, the townships, all the cities and the villages in our area. If we don't come together, then we will not have the strength that we have today, and I only hope to build upon that.
Our aim is to make our communities the best they can be. We are involved in exciting development projects, sustainable recycling programs, and creative progressive prevention programming. We partner with elected officials, impacting policy ideas that become great achievements. We seek opportunities to reach out into the community and offer our services to help our residents make Kent County thrive.
Our relationship is solid, both from a staff standpoint at the county level as well as the Board of Commissioners. And they understand what we do and the benefits that we can do for the community, and vice versa. We couldn't do what we do without the help of Kent County.
While most of us are busy running our lives, Kent County's elected officials, administrator controller, and over 1,600 employees are serving the communities where we live our lives, so we can all have a place we are proud to call home. Kent County, its life well run.
All right, good morning. Welcome to the Legislative and Human Resources Committee for Tuesday, November 13th. Is there any public comment today? Welcome any public comment? All right, seeing none, we will, I need a motion to approve the minutes from October 23rd.
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Vonk. Support by Commissioner Steck. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All passed. All right, moving on to item 3, fiscal services performance measurement, 5-minute update. Welcome, Steve.
Morning, Commissioners. It's time for our 5-minute update this year. As you should know, fiscal services is in charge of several divisions and functions. And what I'd like to do today is, over the years since I've been director, we have focused on continuous improvement, using technology to be more cost effective, to get more data to the public easier and to our other customers. And what I'd like to do is highlight one of our divisions and how we have put that technology to use to make it better for our customers and the public. One of our divisions is purchasing, and that's headed by Cal Brinks, our purchasing manager. He is also in charge of fleet services, and he's our liaison to the Fire Commission. So I'm going to use our 5 minutes to try and demonstrate what we have done with technology. Cal, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. As Steve said, you recognize me most likely in my role as purchasing manager. I also manage fleet services and act as your county liaison to the Fire Commission. This morning I'm going to cover 3 areas. I'm going to cover purchasing, Fire Commission very briefly, and then fleet services and our 2017 accomplishments. As we plan our initiatives and things that we work on, accomplishments that I present to you this morning, really, we have a very strategic plan. We don't leave anything to chance. We don't come in one morning and say, we're going to work on this or we're going to work on that. But we have a process that we follow. And I'm going to share that process with you to start because it puts in context the overall of what you're going to see. What I'll do, since I'm covering 3 areas, I'm going to first cover purchasing. I'll pause at the end of purchasing, and with Madam Chair's okay, I'll stop, and if you have questions specific to purchasing, I will certainly try to answer them. I'll very briefly then move on to Fire Commission and followed with Fleet Services, which is one of our rapidly changing departments here at the county. Several years ago, we started in purchasing a continuous improvement process. It's designed off from lean manufacturing, or in the office, lean enterprise. And we began that process in 2004, and our staff are actively engaged in this. And basically, we ask the question, how are we going to continuously evaluate all of our activities designed to bring an ongoing improvement to the process through constant review? And when we discuss that in purchasing and our staff, it's really about our staff more than me, what you see this morning. We do it on the basis of 3 things. On our focus of our customer, what does the customer design as value? What is our mission? What are we here for? And how are we going to get a little bit better throughout the year? And so we draft a continuous improvement process, and we usually work about 2 years ahead, and they're all ideas that our staff present, and that's what you're going to see this morning. Fleet Services began this process about 5 years ago as well. After we design or make recommendations from a customer vision and our purpose, why are we here, we develop a plan, a strategic plan, and then we sit down with administration. Our past and current administrators have been very supportive, and Steve Duarte it supports it. And we sit down at the beginning of the year and we prioritize and we develop initiatives answering the question, when we started on January 1st and we close the doors on December 31st, what's going to make us just a little bit better through our processes? It works like this. If you spin a wheel around our customer and move as fast as you can based on mission, engaged workforce, the accomplishments that you're going to see this morning are from the staff. They're really not from me. How do we add value from our customer perspective and continuous ongoing improvement? And I'll give you an example of that. The Sheriff Department or Public Works does not really want to pay for purchasing to process 3,000 purchase orders a year. That doesn't add any value to their mission. So part of our plan throughout the year has been, well, how do we eliminate that through technology and process improvement and automation so that our staff can focus on our customer, either internal or external. In purchasing, we began this process in 2004 and have steadily worked on that in Fleet Services 5 years ago. The one example I use is reverse auctions, very well known. Kent County is one of the few in Michigan and in the country, other than at the federal level, who are able to execute reverse auctions. We didn't come in one day in 2009 and say, let's start that. That was based on a foundation that we were already talking about strategically planning for in 2004. Today, in purchasing, I'm going to cover website upgrade, bid calendar, bid clarity, and collaboration. What purchasing staff said is, as we began in 2016 and came off financials, we wanted to focus our effort on the business community and break down the paradigm that it's difficult to do business with government, or specifically Kent County. That was going to be our focus in one of our accomplishments in 2017. So how do you do that? And we spent a lot of time, both with Steve, his direction, and staff. Why do we take calls? What are the questions from the business community, and how can we address them? Why would we do that? Is make it easier for the business community, but also it frees up time for our buyers answering questions over and over again to the business community to focus on our customer. So we redesigned our website. It's a one-stop shop of where you go, and I will share with you what's different between King County's and other websites. But as a business community, you can come in, you can see purchasing, you can see all the bid opportunities that are out there, a bid calendar, the solicitation status. You can look at sale of goods, you can register as a vendor, which is optional in our case, and you can look at vendor resources. Everything is there that you need to see to participate in the business. So what does that look like? We'll use the skid steer tractor that was recently bid. A vendor, a business can come in, they can see the bid, and they can submit online. Now that's not necessarily new last year, that is a prior continuous improvement project, but what's key and what I bring to your attention to that, which is unlike others, is many agencies to bid online, you have to go through a very long extended bidder registration. At King County, we said, no, if the business wants to come and they want to bid, they don't have to go through this long registration. They can come in, and if they have an interest on a specific bid, they can place it. Questions are common and quite frequently done through email or other methods. We have a process where vendors can submit inquiries online, and it has an automated process that falls behind it. So the website is like the fancy car. What's really going on is process, integration, one-touch workflow in the purchasing office. So a vendor can submit inquiries, and for example, I'm here talking to you today, inquiry comes in, another buyer can jump in and look at the question, answer it, and publish it transparently to all vendors so that everyone knows what are the questions or what are the answers to these questions, and at the time the bid closes, this is all created automatically into one document and filed automatically without human touch into the purchasing file. Why is that important? It's because 3 years from now, if we bid it over again, the first thing the buyer does, whoever's assigned that commodity, they pull it out and they look at the questions. And when you look at the questions, you can write your new bid to address those questions, again with the intent to make it easier for the vendor community. The other thing typical is in bids, is especially in government bids, you have to go through many, many, many pages of boilerplate to find out what it is we're going to purchase. And so we standardize our process, and it's always in the first paragraph, because as the business community comes in, they don't want to read 10 pages of boilerplate. They want to know what it is that we're bidding. And so we specify at the beginning of the documents what it is we're purchasing. We have indexing so that the bidder can flip from areas within the bid, and if they're interested, then certainly later they can go back and read the bids. The other thing we added is a tentative bid schedule. The business community quite frequently asks, well, what is it you're going to purchase in the coming year? And so we list now, through a process, our upcoming bids. And so if you are interested in sell automobiles, you know that we're going to bid the automobiles in November. You also know that Joni, our purchasing supervisor, is the one you need to talk to if you have questions specific to that upcoming bid. Ammunition is one that we released, and we bidding it not only with King County, but local agencies like the City of Walker participate in that bid, and we have a plan scheduled for that. You as a board, as you worked on your CIPs and they started to become finalized, we started to sit down with the departments, and we do this with Public Works as well, and we say, when are we going to begin working on the CIPs? So the vendor community knows that we have these business opportunities upcoming and the CIPs and who they need to talk to. The Grand Rapids Business Journal, which we really appreciate, did an article not long ago on simplifying the bidding process to help us get the word out to the community. Vendors do not have to register to participate, But if they want to know about bids without coming to the website, we have a vendor registration, and the vendors pick the commodity codes, and an email goes to them. Collaboration continues to be a high focus in purchasing. Purchasing has the means and ability through our systems to very efficiently publish and process purchases among the community. We do fire pump testing for the Fire Commission. For East Grand Rapids, I think there was 11 bids that we did for them last year, or reverse auctions. Now, I would ask, if I were you, and so I'll just answer, why would you do that? Purchasing and in procurement, it works very well. For example, ice melt. Not only does East Grand Rapids bid ice melt, but so does Kent County. So does the city of Granville. So does, you can fill in the name. And our systems automatically identify who desired ice melt in the past, and we can automatically send out a notice at the optimal time to buy ice melt, not on a snowy November morning, but in September, and we can automatically consolidate our purchases and issue purchase orders and ship directly to the local agency. Our highlight collaborative bid last year was with the health department. Kudos to the health department. We led a collaborative effort with Kent County, with Washtenaw County and Allegan County to do a request for proposal, evaluation, contract and negotiation, which was headed up by the Kent County Health Department in purchasing, and ultimately awarded by all 3 counties at significant savings, not only to the counties, but if you imagine to the vendor who ultimately won the award, they didn't have to deal with 3 counties, 3 contract negotiations. They dealt with 1, mainly Kent County. So I will pause here at purchasing, and Madam Chair, if you'll authorize it, I'll entertain questions specific before I move on to fire.
Any questions for Cal on purchasing? Commissioner Stick.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. When you engage in a collaborative purchasing effort, is that without cost to the participants? And is the benefit really the volume acquisition works to everybody's advantage?
To answer your first question, yes, it is without cost. And we view it, and we continue to measure, there are really multiple benefits. The first benefit, obviously, is the volume, the leveraging of volume. And so we are measuring, and we are seeing results on that, where the volume drives down costs. It also helps the business community because they can go to one source to respond as opposed to hitting 5 different Kent County local agencies. But with that being said, it also causes stress on the margin of the bidders because it is bid at lower margin.
So can any other public entity participate in a collaborative acquisition?
We evaluate that, and when we launch our collaborative efforts, we spend quite a bit of time focusing on that. We focus on Kent County and Kent County local agencies. We do, on occasion, do bidding outside of Kent County, but it's on a case-by-case basis, and it has to be in West Michigan area, with a few exceptions where it made sense, like to include Washtenaw and Allegan. But we focus on Kent County local agencies.
All right, any other questions for Cal on this portion? Commissioner Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair. Cal, I've been on the DPW for a number of years, and with purchasing, there seems to be more flexibility today than there was 10 years ago when purchasing product and so forth and services where, why are we doing this? And sometimes we got the wrong piece of equipment or whatever because it went to the lowest bid, but it wasn't necessarily a better piece of equipment. How does that flexibility fit into your purchasing policy?
We spend a lot of time at that, and thank you for asking that, because here at Kent County, we don't necessarily always go with low bid. We go with what is best interest for the county while following Kent County purchasing policies and procedures that you provide for us. However, we don't necessarily go with low bid, we go through qualifications. We do a lot more requests for proposals today than we used to, especially for bigger projects. That gives us the ability to analyze the recommendation as a total award. And so I believe that's probably what you are feeling and seeing. Also, we have really worked hard, and you have seen it here, on the purchasing policies and procedures that you provide for us. In government, that sometimes can be seen as a bad thing, but that actually is our friend. We have really spent a lot of time with Councilor Howell and refining them and giving us the flexibility to deliver quality goods and services to Kent County departments at the overall lowest cost for the Kent County citizen.
I appreciate that. From what I see at the DPW, you're doing that, and I think we're getting better product and better services because of that. Thank you.
Any other questions on this portion of Cal's presentation? Okay, let's move on.
I'm going to touch briefly on the Fire Commission because that's going to come to you next year. The Kent County Fire Commission was established in 1942 as the Kent County Fire Department. Time does not allow me to provide for you the history on that, other than it's quite fascinating, but it's alive and well today. And so purchasing and myself is the county liaison to the Fire Commission and the Fire Commission Board, of which two commissioners serve, and is very active. We purchase fire apparatus every year on a rotating basis, and we have many, many local entities who are members of the Fire Commission. A little bit of trivia for you. If you are out and about and you look at a fire truck and you see Kent County on the door, on the fender, you know that it's a Kent County Fire Commission vehicle. They are still labeled today with Kent County on it. What I want to bring to your attention today is the Fire Commission. You can identify it on events as the townships grew, and there's a very interesting history on that. The last event really was in 1978 when the county entered into a contractual agreement with the member departments. And the Fire Commission has operated basically the same since 1978. It was recognized 2 years ago in 2016 that the assessment process needed to be updated, that is buried in that contract. To do that, we need to address the contract. So the Fire Commission Board, the 7-member board, said, let's look at the Fire Commission closely. Let's define the benefits, how it should be governed, should it be changed, the membership, revenues, and a whole host of other things. And so beginning in 2016 and throughout 2017, the Purchasing Office and the Fire Commission Board and many of the members sat down through quite extensive work sessions and redefined what it is the Fire Commission is all about and updated this contract and assessment. This draft contract is coming to the Fire Commission Board. Right now, the plan is to bring it to them in December. The reason that you care is the contract requires to be changed 3 things. One, it requires the Fire Commission Board to vote and make the change. The second is to bring it to the Board of Commissioners, and you need to review it and agree or not agree to make the change, and it's coming your way. You're going to hear about, and Commissioner Jones will talk about occasionally at the Commissioner meeting, but sometime this year, early next year, first or second quarter, this is going to come to you in much more detail. And it had a lot of work and accomplishments in 2017 by the Fire Commission Board to get it to this stage. So before I move on to Fleet, is there, Madam Chair, if there's any questions of the Fire Commission?
Any questions for Cal on the Fire Commission issue? None? All right, we're moving on.
Fleet Services. Fleet Services, Eric Rubritis here on my left is the supervisor and runs the day-to-day operations at Fleet. Fleet is a rapidly changing department here at the county. A lot's happening at this facility. What is happening? For one thing, the county's fleet size has increased rapidly over the last 5 years as additional services have been added. Depending on how you count it, but over 41 vehicles plus other equipment maintained by Fleet Services. Very rapidly growing department with less staff. We have less staff than we did before. So with that, the question would be, well, what are we doing at Fleet Services? And I have put in pictures of many things, but what we do at Fleet Services is we maintain all vehicles, and it's easier to say what we don't do. What we don't do is we don't replace total engines, we don't do transmissions and extensive body work. Other than that, all of the maintenance, all the warranty work is sent out, but other than that, all the maintenance, all the repairs is done in Fleet, and the aftermarket equipment installed in Fleet. So especially in the sheriff's department, a lot of electronics, a lot of wiring, a lot of computers and radars, and all of that is installed by the same mechanics who maintain the car in a very systematic approach. The challenges we face are really two. One is the facility restraints to support the fleet. The fleet is changing. The type of vehicle is changing. And you have heard about it occasionally at the finance meetings that you attended where Steve has talked about the facility. On a busy day, cars are all kitty corner in the fleet. The hoists are full, and you can't fit fleet cars in, and to move them around very difficult. The other is capacity to support the increasing fleet. There is something we can do about that, and we have worked on addressing the capacity of the fleet through process improvements and technology, as I described earlier in this session. First, briefly on the limitations, what's changing? The vehicles are much larger. Community asset buses are very large, and others, and we can't lift them on our hoists. Our hoists are not strong enough to lift them, and even if we put new hoists in, really the limitation is the ceiling, the room and the ceiling. We can't lift the vehicles up off the ground very far because we'll put them right through the ceiling if we even had hoists that could do that. Our mechanics are very, very dedicated, and sometimes as I walk through or in the morning, we have the skill set to maintain fleets, to repair fleet, and I will see a bus like this 5 feet off the ground, 4 feet jacked off the ground safely with a mechanic on his knees changing the brakes, because we could so more efficiently save and do it in the facility. So the facility is a challenge for us, very crowded, very difficult to get our vehicles in. But the technology we can address, and we have worked on that through technology and business processes. This is an old board, goes back to the 1950s, I would imagine. I would be told by the sheriff department, but when a vehicle, big fleet, car broke, the officer came in, they put an arrow pointing down, hung the keys up, and wrote on the board what's wrong with them. Well, that's not efficient, because other officers come in, big fleet coming in and out, you don't know what cars are broken, what's not. Fleet services is going up, looking at the board. And so we launched last year a new automated process, and it basically looks like this. It has a front end, so if you're within county network and authorized by the sheriff department, and if a car breaks down at 2 o'clock in the morning, brakes go out, or whatever it might be. That's not likely, but we'll use that as an example. The officer puts in the computer that the car is down. It automatically creates a work order in the fleet software system. When the mechanics come in early in the morning, it tells them with a work order that the vehicle is down. Our goal is to maintain vehicles. Number one is safety, always, but to keep the fleet on the road. That's our goal. And it looks like this. So there's monitors now in the sheriff department. There's a monitor if you're walking fleet. When an officer comes in and they check out a car, or they actually log into their computer, it automatically checks out the car, and everybody else knows that the car is out and not available, no longer walking around looking for vehicles. When a car is brought down, either by a mechanic or for repair, the screen turns red, the work order is automatically created in the fleet software system, and everybody knows that that car is down. They no longer need to be looking for what cars are available. They can see it right on the monitors by the locker room when you come in the sheriff department, or if you walk into fleet, or have any access to the internet. The other major milestone last year in fleet is we have 2 10,000-gallon underground tanks that were substantially old, and one of them showed wear. These needed to be replaced, and you may recall that you approved that as a CIP. We have 2 staff members who have passed certified state and at federal level to manage underground fuel. It's Joni and Eric. It's a very stringent test that they've taken. And them, along with assistance from facilities, from Mr. Jano and the Sheriff Department, Steve Hodenko, those tanks were dug up last year. And they were bid and they were replaced with new tanks with double walls so that they don't have a spill and we have a catastrophe with environmental. But if we're going to do that, we might as well do it right. And so with the help and support of facilities and the Sheriff Department through coordination and inconvenience, we dug up the parking lot. And we ran new piping from the tanks that are underground to the gas pumps. We put in all new electrical wire, and we put in new gas pumps. And these gas pumps are quite high in technology. Say somebody from the public drives in and unobserved and puts the nozzle in the car and tries to fill up the car, compliments of the county. It's not going to happen because the nozzle and the pump is going to recognize that that's not a county car. However, if a county car pulls in and puts the nozzle in the car has a diagnosis that we now have the ability to do a diagnostics right in the car while it's being filled that's automatically brought into the fleet software so that we can observe mileage and other diagnostics of that vehicle just by while it's filling 24/7. We also have put in automated equipment inside the facility so that if those tanks, if there's any leaks, it would immediately notify us. Even just a small drop or a gallon of fuel is missing, we're going to notify it immediately. We decided to address the parts room, and following the lean enterprise manufacturing process, we updated the parts room and everything is organized and labeled. But in addition to that, we said, well, why waste the motion of the mechanic from going to the car to the parts room? So we brought the part room where we can to the car. We made the mechanic mobile. We put the tools on mobile, and the parts that are used all the time are brought into the fleet. We put in wiring with assistance of facilities so that when a Sheriff Patrol car comes in, the mechanic can plug in the computer and run the updates while they're changing the oil. That eliminates the computer going down out in the field. We brought technology to the car. And instead of having the mechanic walking around and going to get a computer on the other side of the shop and somebody talks to them and they forget to create their work order, the mechanics do the work orders, the logging, the miles and everything right at the vehicle, right when they're working on it. Why is that important? When they click final on their work order, that monitor in 60 seconds says that car is now available and ready to be taken out. So we continue to work on our processes, our technology in the garage to address the growing, and we're fine. We're doing well. Kudos to Eric and his staff who have come up with these things, and thank you to Steve especially who helps support them through cost-saving initiatives. We have offset that with installing technology. So with that, I come to the end. If there's any questions about fleet services, I will try to answer them.
All right, any other questions for Cal on fleet services or any other purchasing issues? Commissioner Stack.
Thank you, Chair. So with respect to the increase in fleet vehicles, is it your expectation that that trend will continue in the future, or are we flattened out?
Do you want to? Yeah. Well, the answer is from our perspective, because we're focusing on our customer who's adding services. We don't spend too much time other than dealing with capacity and making sure that we can support our customer. However, as the county has added services, and you've seen them come across your desk, the answer is yeah, I would anticipate the fleet will continue to grow. Maybe not quite at the rapid rate that we have seen in the past, but yes, the fleet is continuing to grow.
And is the bulk of that in the Sheriff's Department?
Well, there was 2 events. The Sheriff Department is growing, and you've seen that through actions to support the schools, and we want to do that. We're supporting the Sheriff Department's role. There was also another major event that recently happened. That was the addition of community action. and that brought, I believe it was 9 vehicles, mostly buses, into the fleet. Those were maintained outside before they came to Kent County. We have the skill set and mechanics ability to maintain them at substantially savings to that department if we can get them in, and we're slowly bringing them in as much as we can versus outsourcing them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Womack?
Do they have any netbooks or notebooks? They're still using laptops in the fleet?
In the fleet, we're using tough books in the fleet itself. And the reason we're using tough books, they're similar to the ones that are in the patrol vehicles. Number one, it's a very rough environment. And so if we drop them, they're the most likely ones to survive. But also, they're very consistent with the computers that we maintain in the fleet. In the office, we use, we have a desktop and we have a Surface Pro, a Microsoft, and in purchasing we use Surface Pros.
And the tough books, are they touch screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you so much, Cal and Steve.
Just wanted to thank you all for your attention. This was just the tip of the iceberg of how we've used technology in the department-wide. Be happy to discuss with anybody at any time they'd like. Thank you very much again for your attention.
Thank you so much. Great presentation. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to item 4, Kent County Community Action. I will call up Susan Cervantes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As you know, on October 1st of 2017, Community Action became a department of Kent County. And so we have celebrated a year now. And our federal funds are based on a 10/1 start date through 9/30. So this presentation is going to reflect our full year in the county, because most of our funds are in that program year. It's just easier to give you a full operational year than to split the years by the calendar. So you've got a full year coming at you. And this presentation is going to be like the other county department presentations, show you the alignment with the board priorities, our metrics. And for community actions, our metrics have been measured since 1998 in a system that's called Resorts Oriented Management Accountability, or ROMA, because you know our world is full of acronyms. And so doing these metrics and everything was like an old hat, because we've been doing them for 20 years. So I hope that they fit into the county's structure. I'm going to talk about the significant budget issues, significant accomplishments, key collaborations, and a look ahead. Our priorities align with 3 of yours, and one is to have stable and predictable revenues to cover our expenses, and that was one of the goals of the transition, was so that we could braid resources and have the resources meet the needs of the customers as well as the department. We provide our services daily through the most efficient means that we can. We offer the best customer service, and we believe that we offer a high quality of customer service. And we seek out innovative solutions and address issues systematically related to poverty, because that's our national goal. We have a local mission to eliminate the causes and circumstances of poverty by investing in individuals and families with lower incomes. And through our dedicated staff and community partnerships, we provide services, resources, education, and advocacy to improve the quality of life for all residents of Kent County. We are part of a national network, and so we do have a national promise. We are one of 1,000 community actions nationally, and one of 28 in the state of Michigan. We are the 4th largest community action in Michigan. The 1st largest, of course, is Wayne Metro, Oakland, Livingston, Macomb, and then us. And Macomb and us are pretty tight, so we'll have to see what happens with the census in the in the next 2 years, because we might become the third largest. You never know. So our community actions were established by the War on Poverty, signed into legislation by Lyndon B. Johnson on August 20th of 1964. It was President Kennedy's idea, but of course, you know, he was assassinated, so Johnson went with it, and that's how we are. There has been community action in Kent County since 1966. It started in a little house across the street on Sheldon. We're still on the land that we have been with our nice new building. So we're at the Human Services Complex, but it started across the street in a little house in 1966. So we have celebrated our 50th anniversary in Kent County, and we're working on our 24th year in Kent County. We do have focused service areas, although we do have a lot of services that I would need probably 2 hours to expound on all the great things that we do. So for this presentation, I kind of held off on everything and kind of got a focus to where we do really good things. And our first focus is housing. We provide services to address homelessness on one hand and home ownership on the other hand. So everything in between. We start with trying to prevent homelessness by providing financial assistance to households of low income for utility shutoffs, rental arrearages, and mortgage payments. Last year, we gave out over $1 million in homeless prevention in the way of utility shutoffs, rent arrearages, and I think we had 7 mortgage payments too, which is rare for us on the mortgage payments, but they aligned with the guidelines for the grants. So we did assist 1,415 families. Unfortunately, for the year that's coming, the state has gone in a different direction as to how to distribute the funds, and so next year we're going to be quite lower. We have a prediction of about 473 families that we're going to help. We also run, as the Kent County Housing Commission, we have housing choice vouchers that are available. They are what you might know as the Section 8 vouchers, but that term is not a great term anymore. It's not politically correct because the Section 8 is a dishonorable discharge from the military due to mental illness. And so they've really asked us to call this program what it is, the Housing Choice Voucher. It does give all the residents who have it a choice in their housing. And so it's a good thing, and we're trying to put it into a positive light. And then we also have monies that we contract with community rebuilders to expend on assisted rental units. And so we were pretty even last year with all of that. And the other housing goal we have is to promote rehabilitation, sustainability, and development of permanent housing for Kent County homeowners with low to moderate income. And what we do is we do minor home repairs. We do, and those are like up to $10,000 if somebody needs a furnace, a water heater, perhaps a roof replacement, and it can be done under $10,000. We partner with Home Repair Services for that service. We also do access modifications, which are if someone needs a wheelchair ramp or maybe their bathroom shower adjusted for their wheelchair, or maybe sitting in the shower versus standing. We also do that. And then we do have a program that we run internally that's for up to $25,000 of home rehabilitation. That's based on need. And then that amount can be increased if there's lead issues in that. We also are working with the city of Grand Rapids on their Children's Health Improvement Program, and that's for identified children with elevated blood levels. So we're trying to address things in the home that could improve the home and maintain the residents. Second service area that I would like to talk about is that we offer the USDA foods to supplement the diets of Kent County residents. We have two programs. We help the seniors on a monthly basis. You have to be 60 or older. And then on a quarterly basis, we have distributions for the general population. In the monthly distribution, we provide the seniors a box of food which is nutritionally balanced, and we distribute from several sites in the county. I believe we have 48 sites that we distribute to. We have our site at the complex, and then we have pantries, we have senior housing project places such as Grand Ravines, Leonard Terrace, and that's throughout the county. And then we also give the food to the senior food programs that are around the county. On a quarterly basis, we distribute about 17,000 units to households with incomes that are at 130% of poverty or less. This is a self-declaration program. We have had changes over the year for this program, and all people have to do is come in and say that they're hungry and that they would like some food, and then they sign a piece of paper, and we give out the distribution. Now, this distribution we can have frozen foods with, and we also have cooler foods. So last distribution we had strawberry cups, which we've not had in like 10 years, so it went over really well. But we also had cheese with this distribution, and everybody loves the cheese. So the best thing that we have at ours is the catfish. They just love the catfish, but we didn't have that this time. We had chicken. And there were sad faces that it was chicken versus catfish, but we went on with it. So we do about 45,000 around that units each year for that program. And that program has been really kind of cool because we've had the best partners with that program. We've had Human Resources. I want to thank Amy Rolston for letting her staff come over at night and help us at our distribution. We've had the Ottawa Hills football team come over, and actually I believe that you were given a link to the video that was made for that day. And Miranda from Wood TV 8 picked it up, and then we did a pep rally over at Ottawa Hills with the football team, and then she put it on her site also. So you might have seen the benefits of that partnership. The best part of that partnership was that those kids came in and they went through our line within an hour and 40 minutes, a line that usually takes us about 4 to 5 hours to clear out because people start lining up at 10:30 in the morning, and they had that line down before 3 o'clock, and they were leaving at 3 o'clock. And it was just great. And the other best thing was that most of them and their families could have qualified for that food, because they have an 87% reduced lunch rate, and so that's what we are serving with that food. We also last time had the Grand Rapids Fire Department come in, and they had 4 trucks, so the kids that came, they gave truck tours, but they just got in there and worked, and everybody had a great time because they were in uniform, and they didn't get called out, so that was a good thing, because they said they could only help us if they didn't get called out. And so we really got our line down, and it's a great thing because it was cold that day. Our next service area is our senior services, and a lot of our programs are funded by the Kent County Senior Millage, so we really appreciate that. We get almost $500,000 to provide the services to the seniors, and we couldn't do it without our millage money. We offer what's called outreach and assistance to seniors. We have primarily a monolingual staff and caseload. We provide Latin American seniors with outreach and assistance. We first do an assessment for all their needs, then we make referrals, and we case manage them. We have, you know, over the years, we've helped with homelessness, we've helped people with hunger, we've, you know, there's been a couple times when we've gone into the house, we couldn't find the senior and they had fallen. We've saved a couple of lives. We've called the ambulance. We're out there and we're learning what our seniors need. They've got, there's 6 of us that speak Spanish at the agency, which helps out because at any time somebody will be at the office who is monolingual in Spanish, and so with our Older Americans grant, we're just doing Latin American services. This year, though, with our Older Americans grant, we were offered the opportunity to provide services to Native Americans because one of our staff members is Native American, and she was able to connect with the Native American community, where in the past that had always been a struggle through the senior millage funds. We also provide transportation, and thanks to our fleet services help, we've had a hard time this year getting drivers, and we have a competitive wage. It's just, we're not sure why, but now we are staffed now, and so we're looking forward to ending the year on a high note. We do have a fleet of 9 vehicles that transport the seniors, and the bus that you saw was one of our new transits. So we have a couple of transits and then a Dodge Caravan that's like that. And our other ones are 11 passenger cutaways. We did have a 24 passenger bus, but it died. And so Kale was very nice and had it shipped off to Byron Center and sold. So it was sad. The seniors loved that one because it was like being in a coach bus, but it died and it was too costly to replace. We prepared nutritionally balanced Latin American cuisine, and you would think that the great thing would be the food, but the great thing is not the food. The great thing is that by providing the food, we decrease the isolation because we have a congregate meal site at our Franklin complex, and so it increases the socialization. Our seniors like to come in, they play loteria, dominoes, they crochet. We have educational classes for them, how to prevent falls, diabetes care, that type of thing. And then we also ensure that they're eating healthy. We have dropped the salt and the lard and everything else that's good, not good for you, but was in Latin American cuisine. So we found some great ways to make Latin American cuisine. And the best part about it is that our seniors who are in this meal program are mostly Latin Americans. They grew up eating a certain type of food. And several of them have said they would not eat anywhere else because they don't know the other food. And so really the food is that comfort of what they know. Yes, there are like 7 different kinds of rice, and each community, like the Mexican rice, the Spanish rice, the Cuban rice. Did you know that the Dominican Republicans also have rice? I mean, every day there's a different rice on our menu, but we try to meet everybody's needs with whatever we prepare. And so, and you're more than welcome to come over and eat with us any day, and I'd give you a tour. The food is great, and so they keep coming back. We serve about 120 meals a day, and that would be in the congregate site, and then we also do home delivered sites, so that the people can maintain their independence in their home. And the last area I wanted to focus on was self-sufficiency. And we provide services that empower self-sufficiency. And we are part of a tax, a VitaTax site. We're the collegiate site for Kent County. We have done this for over 17 years. We prepare the income, the returns, and it's usually fourth year financial accounting students from Davenport, Baker, Calvin, and sometimes Grand Valley. They have to get 400 hours of services before they can graduate, and so they put in those hours at our site. Last year we prepared about 2,300, and by doing so, we returned about $5 million in credits and returns to the community. This is one of our busiest programs that we have because we have to sign everybody in and have everything open. If you've ever seen us on April 14th and it's a Saturday, we're open. You know, on those days, we're doing about 200 returns a day. So, we are going to have this again next year, so make sure that all your constituents who you think would avail themselves to this service, they can come in and make an appointment, and it's starting January 23rd if all federal guidelines are put in place by then. And the other self-sufficiency program that we were on that you wouldn't think would be self-sufficiency is our weatherization program. And that's when we go into houses and install measures to provide for energy efficiency. So we decrease energy consumption and we educate the household about energy saving practices. And so that's why the Department of Energy classifies it as a self-sufficiency program rather than a housing construction program. Last year we were expected to do 95, we squeezed out 99, and part of that number is also we provide seniors with our Kent County senior millage who are above 200% of poverty until 250% of poverty, the service also. And without that funds, those households would not be able to get their homes weatherized for free. So our significant issues for the budget were that we are federally funded, and so that resulted in a continuing resolution and a delay in not receiving our funds, unfortunately, at times. The funds that we're really waiting on are our Michigan Department of Transportation funds. We have 2 buses that are on order. We have 3 more on order, but the funds weren't released. And our fleet vehicles are aged out. So that's why we really do depend on fleet services to help us out. When those buses start coming in, we'll look brighter and we'll function a lot better. The other significant issue is that we have an inflexibility of funding resources. And that means that, you know, our resources are great and many, but they have restrictions. And if you're 1 penny over the eligibility, we cannot help you. And so for like our community services block grant services, you have to be at 125% of poverty or below. If you're at 125%, 0.1%, you can't get help. And that's where it just kills us not to be able to help some people, but we don't want to have our funding resources revoked if we're wrong or have disallowed costs. So this has been like this forever, and we know that we're there to help the most vulnerable. But we come up with creative solutions anyways. And then we had the challenges of braiding our resources, not knowing what we were getting from the community development, community action, and how that would braid. So we're working on those issues. Well, our significant accomplishment is that we completed the transition. I mean, it's been 1 year. It went seamless for the customers, I truly believe, and we're getting there. And then our key collaborations are, we're we're required by our Roma, what I was talking about earlier, to have partnerships. And we have 119 formal partnerships throughout Kent County and the state. But our new partnerships are to brag about. And they're intra-departmental. The Kent County Sheriff's Office helps us with our food packing. The inmates on work release who are trusted come to our warehouse and help us pack the 1,500 boxes a month. The teens from the detention residential program, or the Delta program, they help us with our distributions, and they carry out the boxes and pull the wagons and everything whenever we have our quarterly distributions. And then, as we've said several times, we have a great relationship with Fleet Services. I want to thank Eric for that, and Kale. So those are our key collaborations. But being a federally funded entity, we have federal, state, and local partners. Our national partnership is Community Action Partnership. Our funding through the federal funds are funneled down through the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the department is the Bureau of Community Action and Economic Opportunity. And then we have HUD and Department of Energy, and then our local partner, one of our biggest, is the Area Agency on Aging of West Michigan. So to look ahead for next year, we're going to be conducting a countywide community needs assessment. This is required by our Community Services Block Grant. We'll also be working closely to help address the homelessness crisis with families by utilizing our prevention dollars. We will be addressing the growing number of seniors and their needs, and then we will continue to address the issues of poverty.
Thank you, Susan. Any questions? Commissioners Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. You had mentioned your home-delivered meals. How does that differ from senior meals? And is there any room for collaboration instead of having two separate kitchens, two groups delivering meals, that it couldn't be just done by one?
Well, their food is American food, let's say, and steak and potatoes. And the people that we deliver our meals to are Latin American seniors, so they have a special dietary need of having their cuisine for their comfortableness and eating. And so we've been providing this service for 30 years. We're the only one in the state that provides this service. And it really is our specialty, so combining it wouldn't work. We do have 11 customers that prefer our food over the senior meal program food, and who have signed up with us for the home delivered meals. So it's offering a great alternative to customers who, if they were to get the other food, may not eat them and may not have that nutritional balance in their diet.
So your USDA boxes that you deliver, is that U.S. farm surplus, or does that come from anywhere in the world?
No, it's U.S. Department of Agriculture farm surplus.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Commissioner Skaggs.
Thank you, Chair. What do we do to get the word out to people who are eligible for these services, that these services exist? I was just looking on Facebook and couldn't find anything, so I just wondered.
Right. Since the transition, our Facebook page is not in operation, but with the new hire of Lori Latham, she's going to help us with our Facebook, because when we were at Asset, we had somebody that was dedicated to our Facebook. So we're looking to get that upped and working. But we do use word of mouth. We advertise through the Essential Needs Task Force, and the partners there get email blast every time we have distributions or events. We do use the flashes for the distributions, and we also have been on the radio with Shelley Irwin.
Okay.
So we're trying. We found that the newspaper doesn't work, so we are looking into having help with our marketing of our programs, because we've always been like this best-known little secret.
Right.
Yeah.
Any follow-up? You good?
No follow-up, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Steck.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Susan. Good morning. First of all, thank you for all your work in the transition. Commissioner Womack and Commissioner Mast and I serve on the board, and it's been greatly appreciated the way that you've managed all of that. Also, we have of course talked about the fact that the food service that you provide is unique and it's different. And I'm not sure that you don't have a profit center for the county there that you're not maximizing yet. So you might take a harder look at that, but it gets a lot of very positive responses. The last comment or question I have is with respect to the reduction in the projected service points on homelessness. I think you indicated that it's going down to 473 as the projected, and that's due to a reallocation or a re-emphasis from the state. And I guess my question is, where will those service needs, where will those needs go if they cannot be met here?
Well, with our LIHEAP dollars, which is Low Income Heating Energy Assistance Program, we had gotten about $800,000 last year. And those funds are going to be directly given to the Department of Health and Human Services so that anyone that requests a assistance with the utility shutoffs are being directed to DHHS. DHHS is going to be the primary contact for the eligibility, and that's where it changed because we used to be that contact. Then if somebody needs help with any self-sufficiency issues, like they would be sent to us. And so we are going to be providing like financial capabilities, energy education, case management, those types of things, but we're not going to be paying any bills except for if somebody needs a second payment. Let's say that because at the Department of Health and Human Services, there's a cap of $850. If their bill goes over the $850, we would be able to address that only if they're eligible at the Department of Health and Human Services. So it's a brand new switch. We were told we weren't getting any money, so we didn't plan for any money, but we are planning to do the self-sufficiency issues. We were supposed to start October 1st, and we still haven't started on that because there's been so many problems with the MEA, which is the Michigan Energy Agency, used to be MPSC. There's been just several issues. So unfortunately, what we've been doing, if somebody's come in and they've been desperate and things, we've been using our Walk for Warmth dollars that we have as our donation event, but they're dwindling.
But to some extent, then the funding is simply being redirected in an alternative way and maybe getting back to something that Commissioner Skaggs had raised, identifying and make sure that the community is aware of that redirection and where to go.
Yes, we are. We have 11 certified community navigators, and so we can help whoever walks in the door to apply for those funds. And so that's part of the whole process. They were afraid that people would be challenged by having to apply online, and so they asked for community agencies to help with that. And so I do have 11 navigators on staff.
Okay. Good. Thank you for your good work.
Thank you.
Commissioner Womack.
Yes, just want to thank you for your work, and I want to join Commissioner Steck in saying I'm very happy and proud to be on the board with you. Very happy to see the collaborations you do, especially with the high school, giving the youth a chance to have some civil engagement and volunteering and getting a chance to see what the joy is of, giving back to your community. Few questions I had was, one, who was Shelley Earp?
Shelley Irvin. I'm not sure. She's on the public broadcasting, and she's located in the Grand Valley Tower.
Okay.
It's her show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Shelley Earp. Okay. And
Sorry.
and when it comes to, I've managed some restaurants in my lifetime, and when it comes to like doing the different cuisines, are the seniors have to be responsible of knowing their sodium intake and, with these different spices, because a lot of times in restaurant, we kind of held back and allow people to, do more of the spicing of their foods themselves just because of some of the medical implications and being
Right.
eligible if someone allergic, as you're moving to these different type of cuisines
Right.
throughout the week.
And we have taken out the salt and the lard and everything, and so we do some seasoning, but before we introduce or any meal, we have them taste it first and give us recommendations. We did hire a new cook this year who is, has her associates and she's a chef. I'm sorry, I can't think of her. But she has introduced 6 new plates to our menu, and then what happens is we have them taste it, give us their feedback, that type of thing, and then we have to have the recipe approved by the dietitian from the area agency. And so it's really been a great year for our food, because in the past, I've been with Kent County for about 6 years, and we've never really had this many recipes that we've developed. So we are looking at how they respond to the food, those types of things.
But for some of your regulars, is there anything that they have where they get any type of medical records on any of some of your regulars? Let's say we know this guy is sugar diabetic, and I know a lot of sugar diabetic, and I'm always staying on them about their diet. Is there any records of some of their medical records, or where the staff gets to know this person may be sugar diabetic, or this person may be lactose intolerant, or their sodium? So if they're not,
Right.
where they can kind of help.
With our outreach and
monitor.
assistance dollars, we do a full assessment, and that includes a medical assessment. And so we have all of their medical information in the kitchen in case of emergencies. We know who's a diabetic, and unfortunately, about 85% of our seniors have diabetes.
Yes.
It's prevalent in the Hispanic culture. We know who, we have a couple of people who do not eat pork, so we prepare special meals on the day that we have carnitas. So we know everything. For example, a couple of weeks ago, one of our males came in, he's 85, and he wasn't looking great. And so staff came back and said, so-and-so is not looking great, and right away we're like, well, he's a diabetic. So we had to call the ambulance, and his blood sugar was at 26. So we pretty much saved him from going into a coma.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and part of our food program, even the home delivered, is that we're checking on our seniors. They're checking in on a daily basis. If we don't see somebody for 2 or 3 days, we go out and do a home visit. If we're delivering a home delivered meal and they don't answer the door, right away, it's a well checked by, we call the sheriffs or the police.
Okay. Well, thank you for your service, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Susan? All right, seeing none, thank you, Susan, for your presentation.
much.
Appreciate it. On to item 5, Human Resources 2019 Management Pay Plan Compensation Program.
Yes, this is a request to the Board of Commissioners to approve proposed management pay plan, pay range, wage, and benefit changes. Approximately 260 clerical and professional and management positions are covered under the management pay plan pay structure. As authorized by the Board of Commissioners, the management pay plan administrative process provides for periodic review and adjustment to pay structure for MPP positions. It is recommended that the management pay plan pay structure be implemented as proposed by McGrath Consulting. This will convert the MPP structure to a step program similar to the union step pay structures. This will result in new pay grades and steps for MPP employees that would take effect on December 31, 2018. The total salary cost to implement this new pay structure, along with the minimum increase of 2.5%, is $904,000. proposed changes to the MPP benefits include the maximum retiree health care stipend for employees who retire on or after January 1, 2019 will increase to $400 per month. The annual paid time off allotment for MPP employees hired before July 1, 2016 will increase to 80 hours for full-time employees and 40 hours for part-time employees. A one-time 40-hour bank to supplement short-term disability benefits will be added for employees hired on or after July 1, 2016. MPP employees with at least 10 years of service will be able to cash out 1 week of unused vacation each year. The total cost of $1.2 million to implement the proposed changes is included in the 2019 proposed budget.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
All right. Do we want to discuss, do we have any questions or anything for this issue? Amy Rolston, you want to bring her up? Commissioner Bonk?
Thank you, Chair. Wayman, will this reduce some of the compression that we had from previous years, and could you just talk about that?
Sure, it will, and we took a long time this past year to really dive into this issue, working with Amy Rolston, Steve Duarte, myself, and of course Holly Hartley. We brought in McGraw Consulting to work with us, and we worked and engaged all of the department directors around this issue, but I'll have Amy get into maybe more of the details of that. So,
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. Yeah, the structure that we arrived at is intended to parallel the structures that our unions have, so that the problem, a big contributor to the problem of wage compression of the past was there was really no kind of systematic mechanism to allow our MPP to move through the pay grade. We've now added the same type of systematic mechanism that the unions have, so that will do a lot to help to alleviate wage compression issues in the future.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Commissioner Coleman?
Thank you. I'm just wondering, Amy, if you could help me understand the 48-hour bank for short-term disability.
Yeah. The intent of requesting that for the MPP is to maintain consistency with our unions. That arose out of contract negotiations and was implemented into all of our collective bargaining units. The 48-hour bank is allowed one time over the career of an employee, so when it's gone, it's gone. And it's intended to act as a safety net for employees who have a waiting period prior to short-term disability benefits kicking in if they have a serious injury or illness.
Any other questions for Amy? Commissioner Talon?
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Amy. Can you help me understand the phrase minimum increase of 2.5%, that equals the 904?
Yep.
I'm surprised at minimum there, so.
Yeah, the standard increase for all regular full-time and part-time county employees, including MPP or represented, next year will be 2.5%. There are some employees in the MPP who will get a one-time adjustment that will get them to one of the steps in the new pay structure. So some people, if they're not, if a 2.5% pay increase on the dot is not going to put them into a step, then they're going to get a little bit more as they move into the new pay structure.
So it's not based on performance?
No, it's
so you are able to calculate it now, what that amount is going to be?
Yeah, and it's really just intended to get them into one of the steps of the pay structure if they ended up getting more than 2.5.
Thank you.
Commissioner Steck?
Thank you, Chair. Amy, I think that you answered this, but again, this is in large part to bring consistency with the existing union contracts that we've established.
That's right.
Okay.
Commissioner Skaggs?
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so I think Commissioner Talon asked my question, but I also had, what was the previous paid time off?
It was 72 hours, so
from 72 to 80?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions for Amy? All right, seeing none, I think I had a motion from Commissioner Bonk and a support from Commissioner Womack. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. On to item 6, Public Works, add 1 full-time solid waste operation maintenance supervisor. Wayman.
Yes, this is a request to add a full-time solid waste operations maintenance supervisor position at the Department of Public Works. The South Kent landfill, the North Kent station jointly utilize 3 supervisors, one of whom rotates between the 2 facilities and is required to work every weekend. The current arrangement leaves a gap of 10 to 12 hours per month where there is no supervisory coverage. Additionally, 3 rehires are utilized to cover employee absences for vacations and medical leaves at the transfer station. Both facilities experienced a significant increase in activity in the past few years. For example, between 2011 and 2017, the North Kent Transfer Station saw transaction volumes increase from 27,798 to 47,529, and increased tonnage received from 60,228 to 101,680 tons. The added supervisor will allow the DPW to assign 2 supervisors to each site, provide full supervisory coverage, reduce the need for retiree rehires to backfill for absences, provide a rotating schedule so each supervisor can take a weekend off per month, and free the supervisor to work with solid waste operations manager to complete special projects and assist with developing new waste diversion programs for each facility. Funding for this position is included in the 2019 Department of Public Works operation budget.
All right, do we have any questions on this issue? I don't know if Dar wants to come up. Dar Boss? Commissioner Skaggs?
Thank you, Chair. Dar, this is all coming out, this is not general fund money that we're allocating here. This is just coming out of enterprise fund from the DPW, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Comments? Commissioner Talon?
Here. I'm assuming that this is some kind of rationalization or justification for, it wasn't mentioned, but for the request?
Yeah, what we did is we provided some supplementary information in the action request to discuss how busy it has been at the North Kent Transfer Station. The chart that you have that we provided this morning gives you a snapshot of the activity at the South Kent landfill and the increase over the last few years.
I recognize that this isn't, directly, it's indirectly related to the request, but this is incredibly disturbing to me. Why I had no idea about this increase, whether I wasn't paying attention, but I don't know that that's the case because this has been an interest of mine since 1992 when I was elected to this board for the first time. And I don't know how else to say that I'm so concerned about. That's an incredible increase there.
It is, and we'll share more, I believe, in December about our visioning of the 2030.
Oh, thank you.
We have a plan.
Hold tight.
Hold tight.
Commissioner Bonk?
Yes, the DPW board is well engaged on this, and Dara's got an excellent plan in place, and it might take a few years to reduce that and bring that number back down, but it's separate from what we're discussing today, and that's a recommendation that came from the board for this additional personnel. So,
Any other questions or comments for Dar?
welcome to any board member you want to come.
Seeing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Vonk, support by Commissioner Skaggs. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. On to Commissioner Miscellaneous, item number 7 on the agenda. Any miscellaneous today? All right, I just have one. I want to apologize for the confusion on our agenda that said 5-minute update. We are kind of working through some potential ideas for next year in terms of limiting the frequency of some of these presentations, but maybe lengthening them a bit. So that was probably a product of today, so I want to apologize in recognition of all of your time today, but we are kind of working around some ideas for next year, so I just wanted to mention that. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned.
Kent County.
I am Kent County.
We are 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 Kent County.
Beya, Kent County. Ami, Kent County.
Somos Kent County.
Masira, Kent County.
We are Kent County.
We are Kent County. We are Kent County. Oh yeah.